There are endless droves of new games being released every month, week, every day that I want to try. New big titles, follow-ups to my longtime favorites, and random indies from devs and publishers I've never heard of. This last bucket is what I'm trying to put more and more effort towards spending my time and money in. It feels like I can just think up a game that I want to play, and there's a good likelihood that someone with my same thoughts and interests, who is just much more talented than me, has made that game. It happened last year with Fishlike, the indie WarioWare clone I thoroughly enjoyed, and last weekend this theory was proven to me once again as I was scrolling through Twitter and stumbled across Astral Throne from Zero Sun Games, a strategy RPG roguelike, or as they describe it, a Fire Emblem-like roguelike-like. If you've been around here long enough, you might have heard that Fire Emblem is arguably my favorite series. I also have been known to fall victim to the pull of several roguelikes in the last several years, so put these two things together and you get a dangerous result I should not be allowed to indulge myself in without proper supervision. Now for full transparency though, I have not rolled credits on this game at the time of this recording, but I have played for about a half a dozen hours and have started several runs, so I want to talk about what I am liking and what I'm not liking so far. So if you've played a Fire Emblem before, right off the bat you're going to feel some familiarization here. You have a handful of units you field each map, you click on them, you can move them anywhere in the blue tile sections dictated by their movement stat, then you can attack enemies in range and do the turn-based battles. These battles are decided using familiar stats that help calculate hit rates and damage, pretty standard stuff for games inspired by Fire Emblem. There's a weapon triangle dictating how good certain weapons are against others. You can outfit your character with equipment found in shops, chests, or other enemies, and you can carry around some healing items or chest keys, stuff like that. All things you'd be comfortable with if you've played a Fire Emblem game before. A cool new thing that Astral Throne adds to this formula though is its leveling up system. Rather than leveling up and getting random stat ups based on stat growths like in Fire Emblem, your character's growth rates for each stat actually dictate individual stat level ups that progressively raise after each battle. So your attack, defense, speed, etc. all have individual bars, and when they fill up you get a stat point for said stat. After each of these stat level ups, you fill up a meter for your overall level, and once that is full, you get a full character level up, which increases your health and allows you to choose a new skill or perk for that character. I've really been enjoying this system because you feel like you're constantly making progress with the stats for each character, and also the fun little slot machine of seeing what abilities pop up each full level up has been very fun. Another random little gameplay thing they do in this game that I love personally is they highlight tiles where enemy reinforcements will be coming on the next turns, so you can actually plan out and defend yourself instead of just getting screwed over by an ambush spawn. The way each run starts in this game is you pick a main character and a supporting main character. These are your lords, per se. They get the story, they talk to one another, they have tended to have better stats in my time playing, and you don't want to let them die or you lose. They all have different strengths and weaknesses, and being able to mix and match to give a different feel to your runs is a cool touch. I've chosen to start each run with Lyra as my main character, one because she seems like the actual canon main character of the game, and two because she has 1-2 range magic from the get-go, so she's been pretty solid as a combat unit. These main character options all feel distinct in visual design as well as gameplay design, and all have backgrounds to read and flesh them out as a character. The rest of your characters are a little more generic, with not as interesting designs, and mainly just giving the occasional blurb of text when recruiting them. No real story depth in my experience thus far. It seems you can recruit one of these new side characters in almost every new chapter. The main character basically just says, "Join me," and then they switch sides just like that. You can recruit these units with any existing character, not just your main one, but the dialogue is always the same and comes from your main character no matter who talks to them, and the result of the recruitment doesn't ever seem to change either. I don't mind this because the whole point of this game is to be a roguelike, so I don't really need in-depth story reasons fleshed out for all these new random units to join me. I just need bags of meat to go die for me. Unlike your main lords, these side characters can be downed in battle. If this happens, you can spend a healthy unit's turn to save them, and then they flee the battle, allowing you to use them in future battles. This makes using a unit not feel as harsh for the entirety of a run, but it still punishes you on the chapter in question and makes that chapter that much easier to fail and end the whole run. You'll need to heal them up post-battle with some food, and that goes the same for any surviving unit after each chapter. Health carries from map to map, so you'll need to manage resources to make sure you're going in healthy enough to win each time. This resource management has not been a problem for me so far, but I imagine in higher difficulties that would change. In between each battle, you have to navigate this overworld map, choosing where you want your next battle to take place, and if you want to stop at a shop or an arena, or maybe even go up and open a chest that's laying around on the way. You have a meter on the bottom that fills up as you complete all these actions and fight more battles, at which point you need to make your way to the big end act battle to progress the game. These overworld sections have some fun little decisions you need to make sometimes, kind of almost feels like Oregon Trail, where you may come to a fork in the road and you get options and risks that each option come with that may negatively affect your party or take resources to overcome. When it comes to the music, so far I think it's solid. Lots of your typical RPG intense chanting with snare drum beat in the background, but there is some good rhythm to it all and I do think it's been additive so far. Presentation, I'm personally pretty easy to please, but I will say I much prefer the in-battle 3D graphic style to the overworld map 2D art. The map art gets the point across and you don't interact with it a whole lot, but I don't think it looks super consistent with the look you see in the battles, and I think it's just a little bit jarring of a change. The in-battle early 3D character art has a lot of charm in my opinion. I have played dozens and dozens of pixel art 2D games, and don't get me wrong, I eat that stuff up, but seeing Zero Sun go for a 3D art style with a moving camera zooming in and out of the action was a cool decision in my eyes. As for the narrative aspect of the game, I would say this is not where the game shines in my experience thus far. The story is fairly light in this game. Basically each run you get a story blurb for the characters you chose to play with, and it sets up their motivations and gives some background for them. During bigger chapters you'll sometimes get some more dialogue or story development, but overall I would say the story aspect, at least in the couple runs I've done, is not what you're coming to this game for. You're coming in for the gameplay loop, and I would not expect a super in-depth story or an abundance of character interactions. Story is definitely not the focus, but at least there's something there to kind of color what the reason for fighting is. The biggest negative I had with the game, at least early on, is I was having trouble navigating the menus. I feel like inventory management is a little on the clunky side, and I'm convinced that sometimes the menus just wouldn't take certain button inputs until I quit out of the menu and opened them back up and tried again. This is while I was playing portably on the Steam Deck, and once again, maybe I'm just being dumb, but once I docked it and I played around using a mouse, things felt much, much better. This game feels great to control the mouse, whether it be moving a unit, selecting commands, or the much better feeling inventory management. Obviously, both options have their perks. Portable allows me to schlub on the couch and get comfy, but the mouse control at the desk will be how I choose to play this game going forward most of the time, I imagine. Alright, now for this next 30 seconds or so, please take this with a grain of salt because I am not a tech guy and I don't have much experience with this Steam Deck I just got, so everything I say here might be nonsense. That all being said, I feel like my Steam Deck runs real hard when playing this game, which has surprised me. The old girl has burned through the battery a little quicker than I would expect, and the fan comes on pretty quick after short sessions with this game. Maybe I need to troubleshoot that bit and it's a me problem, but I felt like it was worth at least mentioning. The game does seem to run just fine. I don't think there's any performance concerns per se. It just felt like my Steam Deck is working harder than I would expect it to for a game like this. Thanks for watching. Overall, I would say if you like Fire Emblem, you should at least consider giving Astral Throne a shot. It has some cool ideas. I think if you're a Fire Emblem veteran who's been playing Iron Man runs for years and years, a true new experience with the roguelike gameplay built in, adding even more variables to make the run feel different, has been a fun experience for me. I'll be playing more for sure, and hopefully I can get a few different character stories under my belt to get a better appreciation for that part of the game. If you like this video, consider leaving a like below, and if you want to hear me talk about more games, I promise you I will, and if you can subscribe, maybe you'll get to see those videos too. Thanks again for watching, see you next time.